Hey, it's your friend Adamnator, and I'm here now instead of living a healthy lifestyle. I hope you're fucking thankful. We're back with more Doom! Doom 2 and Doom 64 to be precise. I figured I'd lump these two together for time purposes. I thought I might not have much to say about either, but I turned out to have some good stuff to say, and actually quite a bit about both, so I guess I'm fucked. Well, I have both good and bad. Not too much bad though, much more good than bad, but there is some bad. I apologize for their being bad, but I've been a bad boy. So it's like I said, after going on about Doom 1 like it was my firstborn, I'm initiating a joint venture between Doom 2 and Doom 64. It's sure to increase our capital gain this episode and provide high yields of kicking demonic ass. Doom 2's weird for me because I feel like I always heard more people sing its praise than the original, which I thought was a tad strange. I had heard of Doom 1, of course, even owned Doom on the SNES for a minute. God, that port looks like total ass. It's impressive, but ass. It's like when they ported Doom and Doom 2 on the GBA. Like, why? It's neat, but the modern availability of both of them, especially with enhancements I used like GZ Doom or Brutal Doom, if that's your kind of thing, makes the inferior ports, well, even more inferior and irrelevant, honestly. For some reason, Doom 2 was always brought up more than the original. People would gush over it in adoration, and mostly I heard Doom 1 talk from a historical standpoint, if that makes sense. So you'd get the impression that Doom 1's the clunkier or worse version, or at least I sure did, but I loved the original Doom, so if there's an influx of Doom 2 lovers, I can only be excited for what's in store. So a bit of recap as Doom 2 picks up right where Doom 1 left off. We started on one of Mars's moons, Phobos, teleported to Mars's other moon, Deimos, and then beat the demons to shit in their home turf, hell itself, and then escaped. Also, something to note I guess, I forgot to say this last time, but this is my first time personally playing through the Doom games. My comment about how the dead bunny at the end of Doom 1 had made me scared as a kid wasn't a lie, but the truth is I only caught a glimpse of it one day. Like I think it was in some video or maybe I saw it at a friend's house. Because while I never played the Doom games as a kid and have no memory of watching Doom 1 being beat, I can tell you for a fact that traumatizing shit's been in my head for years, and now I can face my demons in both a literal and metaphorical sense. And funnily enough, that rabbit was actually retconned to be Doom Guy's pet at the end of the later added 4th episode in the Ultimate Doom update, Thy Flesh Consumed. I didn't cover it because it's ridiculously difficult and I don't really consider it necessary for the original Doom experience. But with the help of some nifty computer magic, we can see the ending for ourselves. Without context, wouldn't you think that Doom Guy had killed the rabbit? I know I would, because I think I actually did at some point. It made me think he was an asshole. Something else cool I forgot to mention about the original Doom ending, not only is it both horrifying and amusing, but it's a bold promise of more to come, which I think is really neat. They knew people who got far enough to actually beat Doom would be clamoring for more, so it felt it appropriate to just be like, hey, don't worry, I'll see you. Fucking edit John Romero sliding onto screen. Fuck. I really like the box art for Doom 2. The Cyber Demon looks threatening as ever, and Doom Guy's pose just shows that he's ready for anything hell has to throw at him. Also, looking good, Doom Guy. What's that, the upside down Christmas tree? Man, my dude got it done right! Just kidding, that looks fucking terrible. As Earth's cities are ravaged by demonic forces, the human survivors convene at a starport to leave the planet. However, the armies of hell surround the starport and no one can leave for fear of annihilation. That's where you come back into the picture. The only surviving Marine after all of Earth's infantry falls in an attempt to make an opening for the survivors. You enter the starport, just waiting for a demon to look at you funny. Hey, what are you looking at? I'ma fuck it over here. Doom 2 shows its difference to the original immediately, with the start of a new game not prompting you to choose an episode, but rather just starting up the first level. This game actually is structured the way I thought the first would be, just a linear level path. In these first 10 levels, Doom 2 reintroduces many enemies found in the first Doom. The zombie marines, imps, demons, hellbarons, cacodemons, lost souls, fuck them, cyber demons, and spider masterminds. Apparently the one at the end of Doom 1 wasn't the only one. It's a lot of fucking ones. Why did I write this? Why didn't Jake stop me from writing this? Same thing with the cyber demons. While it makes their appearances in Doom 1 feel a little less special, it in no way lessens their feeling as a threat. Honestly, the fact that they're in Doom 2 as much as they are makes the game feel much more treacherous than the original. Blasting your way through the station, you find that there are new biggier baddies to dispose of around every corner as well. Chain gun guys make their first and, as far as I know, only appearance as zombie marines with a chain gun that can be huge fuckers if not dealt with quickly. Hell Knights, the new lesser cousins of the Hell Barons, you know, the ukulele to their banjo-kazooie, the airplane food to their chicky tendies, you know how it goes. The Revenants are one of the cooler and more dangerous new enemies, and I just want to say, I initially tried to make a joke referencing The Revenant starring Leonardo DiCaprio, but I couldn't tell if it was funny or not, so I cut it. I just wanted to apologize to everybody. So their homing blasts can be deadlier than a YouTube algorithm change. Plus, I just love how goddamn goofy they look. They're just decked out skeletons with armor looking like a jetpack and topped off with a red onesie. Actually, yeah, that's probably flesh. Mancubuses are also new. They're just as deadly as they are bizarre looking. Arachnotroms are like tiny little spider masterminds which take a bit to go down, but not too much. And then pain elementals, god damn do I hate these freaks. They're just brown cacodemons with arms that take more damage to kill and can shoot lost souls out of their mouths. I already hated lost souls. Why Doom have to go and make them 10 times more awful? Finally, we have our biggest bitch baby on the list, the Archvile. Yeah, they're fucking vile, alright. Legitimately, these guys are some of the toughest on the list to deal with. They stop at nothing to get you in their line of sight because that's essential to their attack pattern. Basically, if you can see them, you're hecking done, kiddo. They can create small towers of flames where you're standing, but can also just kind of clap their hands together and blow you into the air, dealing massive damage. So what you want to do is hit them once or twice if you're feeling risky, and then run for cover until they've finished their attack. That's what sucks about them. You don't want to have to kill them when other enemies are around, so you kill a bunch of enemies, but then you discover that they can raise demons back from the dead. So not only do you have to kill Archviles in a strategic manner, but you also gotta make sure you take them down relatively early into the fight, otherwise you'll have wasted a bunch of ammo on other enemies. God, I'm sorry, Archviles just make me really pissed off. And just to like add to their shittiness, they look like fucking skinwalkers, and that scares the shit out of me. So in layman's terms, the enemies of Doom 2 make for much more complicated scenarios than the first. There's so much more to think about, which is both a good and bad thing. I feel like Doom 2 is much harder than the original, which isn't a negative really, but I feel like the way they went about it is really not my cup of tea. Basically, Doom 2's got huge maps, right? Giant maps. Just got them big ol' maps. So very often, you'll find yourself in a situation where you trigger a massive horde of demons to spawn, and more often than not, they're necessary to blast through to complete the level. I don't know how much I like that, but I understand why it's there. They wanted something different, and it makes sense that it'd be the natural progression. More like natural fucking selection, dude. I suck at this sometimes. I just don't like having to deal with gigantic mobs of demons every map. It got a bit old for me, and did feel tiring near the end of the game. Maybe I'm just a little bitch and should change my difficulty level. Disregarding some of these problems I have with the last 2/3 of Doom 2, I have to say, the levels are honestly still designed pretty dang well. Even with some levels lacking a bit of direction, you do end up getting to where you need to go. I just prefer the cramped spaces and tight corners of Doom. Feels more real and scarier, like it's Doom in real life. Funny skit of Doom in real life, haha. Doom 2 just feels like a goddamn apocalypse, but maybe that's the point. Maybe as an excuse for this design, you could say it's a method of communicating just how fucked the earth is, that in nearly every level you're just slammed with enemy group upon enemy group. It's just funny to me that areas on Earth are more crowded with demons than hell seemed to be in Doom 1. This even almost creates its own metagame, what I like to call the save state security system. Here at Save State Security Systems, our business model involves keeping you safe. That's why in our mandated training program, our certified savers are taught to quick save every 2 fucking seconds, just in case you happen to perish at the hands of an Archvile when you turn a corner. Because as we all know, that shit can happen fast. Your conscience can rest easy knowing we've got your back. Safe State Security Systems. We smash F6, so you don't have to. After fighting through the starport, we've successfully allowed a window for the rest of the humans to leave Earth. The wall of text reads that you sit back and wait for death. Jesus. But suddenly, we get a message.
Sensors have located the source of the alien invasion. If you go there, you may be able to block their entry. The alien base is in the heart of your own home city, not far from the starport.
We then get geared up and get back to business, as our work ain't done yet. Far from it. Because after getting through about 10 more levels of city, we find the portal the demons are using to come through. And we of course barrel right on in to face the demons once more in hell. And in my case, as I became overwhelmed, I just ran past everything on my way to the portal. I'm not proud of it, but it's how I managed to get this far. There must be a way to close it on the other side. What do you care if you've got to go through hell to get to it? Entering hell, of course, we have some of the same problems, yet some of the same enjoyable qualities. Clearing a level always feels so satisfying at the end, even after stumbling your way through. Here lie some of our greatest obstacles, like a giant room filled with Hell Knights and imps. Some of the things they did here are genuinely impressive. I bet people were blown away by this shit back in the day. And you know, for all the shit I've given Doom 2 so far, I bet people absolutely loved it back then. And not that I don't. In a sense, Doom 1 was a bit dialed back, but in Doom 2 they just went crazy. And you know, I feel that deserves a bit of respect in and of itself. And of course, when in hell, do as the demons do. Go fucking nuts and don't hold anything back, because they sure as hell aren't, from what I can tell. What's weird about Doom 2 is that while it's an evolution of Doom in nearly every sense, the music doesn't necessarily reflect that, which, like I said, is weird. The metal reminiscent tunes are mostly gone and replaced with slightly more sinister sounding, almost march-like music in some levels. The only track most similar to the original OST is the level end theme. The tempos are slower overall, and putting the soundtracks side by side would sound really weird. But even with that, there's plenty of killer tracks that have similar moods, but I think I'd hazard saying that most of them aren't nearly as adrenaline-filled as the OG's OST was. Yet these tracks still really fit the mood. It puts you in the right headspace to be cautious and take your time, which you honestly really need to do. In doing so, you'll start to notice the small details, like realizing cacodemons fall quicker with the use of the plasma gun, you can put away your double-barrel shotgun to save a round when going up against zombies or imps, and sometimes to save ammo in general, it's not a bad idea to let loose with the BFG 9000, which always feels pretty dang good. Big gun make me feel like big man. But I don't want things to drag on too much. We've saved humanity, located the portal to hell, and now we've discovered the real mastermind.
I don't want to know a thing about it.
Entering the final room, we hear a distorted, demonic voice and see a gargantuan demon head on the wall. It taunts us, and you know we're in for a treat. Not knowing what to do at all, I just ran around and was firing what I could at it. The icon of sin can spawn demons itself, assumedly having created each and every baddie you've come in contact with so far. I spent quite a bit not knowing what to do, and while I did see the exposed brain on the icon of sin, for some reason I thought it just couldn't be that easy. So I fucked around for a bit, until eventually realizing that yes, it was that easy. But now while a pain elemental's writing my ass, God, fuck off! Firing 3 shots into the icon of sin's brain, it wails in agony, and we've done it. I love this description of its demise here. The monster shrivels up and dies, its thrashing limbs devastating untold miles of hell's surface. That's so fucking cool. Wiping the sweat from your forehead, you begin the long trek back home. Rebuilding Earth ought to be a lot more fun than ruining it was. I love this wholesome shit. Doom Guy has a heart, fellas, and I love it. Oh man, now we get an enemy roster. This is great. It's nice to be able to really look at the sprites now. Fuck you, not you. Fuckers, you can't even do anything. Oh shit, that's me. What the shit? So that's Doom 2, the incredible conclusion to the quote-unquote classic Doom games. There's some other, I think, non-canon campaigns that were distributed by id that were practically fan-made, TNT Evolution and the Plutonia Experiment, but I don't really have the energy to delve into those at the moment. Maybe another time. But for now, I feel like both Doom Guy and I deserve some much-needed rest. There's just never an end with hell, is there? Now, you probably guessed, due to the title and video runtime and me literally stating it earlier, but we're nowhere near done with this week's Doom coverage. We're also going into Doom 64 tonight, baby. Oh yeah. Doom 64 is a strange beast, to say the least. Fuck these rhymes, dude. I think this was the first Doom game I actually ever played on an emulator I got from a friend. I remember I played this puppy on a netbook back in high school during my media class, but I never got past the first level, mostly because I was using keyboard controls and didn't play it more than that one time. And strangely enough, I never really heard much about it from anyone I've watched or talked to online. But revisiting it a good 4 years later, I am more than stoked to give it a try as my third Doom game. I'll keep this to a minimum, so I'll mostly just be going over the story here and some very basic discussion. What might trip people up about Doom 64 is that it's not just Doom on the Nintendo 64. It's an entirely new game created by Midway. And surprisingly enough, as terrifying as that sentence is, it actually turned out pretty damn great. And just for clarity's sake, I played the PC remake Doom 64 EX. Just the game with mouse look, just like my playthroughs of Doom 1 and 2. My initial gameplay impressions were on the negative side, I'll admit. I had talked about the Doom 2 music being different. Hell, here the entire soundtrack's just droning, mysterious tracks filled with ominous sounds, like babies crying, random vague screams that nearly sound like enemies, and usually some low static too. So yeah, to say you're always on guard would be an understatement. This game freaked me out, and by God did I love it. Doom 64 takes the series back to its roots with striking and clear parallels to Doom 1. The tight corridors, the slow ease into larger levels, unlike Doom 2, which practically had giant levels from the start. The enemy designs took a hit too, with some designs being completely butchered and others refined. The demons are pretty great, and zombie marines are pretty on point too. The imps are really weird. I feel like all the character and soul was kind of sucked out of the designs, even though they were already basic to begin with. I don't know, especially the demon buttholes. What the fuck, my dudes? They gave the Caco demons arms? Why'd they give the Caco demons arms? What's the deal with these arms? Well, what's the arms deal here? Because I certainly didn't authorize this, and I can almost certainly prove that our buyers are terrorists. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the pain elementals are the only cool change. They've been turned into Lovecraftian nightmare fuel, and I'm very okay with that. But the levels are tightly designed, and they're pretty damn fun. And as you'd expect, there's story aplenty within this game as well. Doom Guy, having been long retired from his blood-filled glory days of demon slaying, has been in a state of anxious unrest. Stupid military doctors. Their tests and treatments were of little help. But then suddenly, A creature was discovered by a lone satellite, sending a terrifying signal to Earth. This creature, mother of all demons, is said to have extreme resurrective powers and somehow escaped capture. Doom Guy is recommissioned, and the Doom episodes reopened. I love how in this universe, the government classified like everything that happened under the Doom episodes. How'd they come up with that name? I wonder if like Doom Guy had something to do with that. I don't know, that's just really funny to me. You're sent on your mission with one instruction: merciless extermination. So goddamn rad. I like this idea a lot of some powerful entity just keeping itself hidden. It's just fun. It makes for some good anticipation, wondering what this thing will be like. But that's sort of part of the problem. I went in relatively blind, which caused me some trouble later on. This involves these things called artifacts, or demon keys. They essentially power up a new weapon called the Unmaker. However, like I said, I was completely unaware of this starting out, and I proceeded to just progress normally through the game, like, you know, a normal person. When I found out, I realized I was on the last level where a secret exit was accessible, as they lead to the secret levels where artifacts can be found. These entrances are around as early as level 1, and they're scattered about every 10 or so levels. I didn't think much of their existence at first, until I learned how essential they are in taking down the Mother Demon. But initially I thought, oh thank God, at least I'll get one and I'll probably be fine. Making your way through merciless level after level, you're of course treated to a bombardment of Hell's forces, each level requiring a new way of thinking needed to avoid becoming Demon Chow.
Doesn't want to know a thing. Gotcha, okay.
Finally, you enter a room where you're dealt an onslaught of enemies, but you can shut the doors they spawn out of if you acquired the artifact that corresponds with the colors on the switches. Me, only having got one, got to shut a single door, and even that number of enemies was almost too much for me. This shit gave me Doom 2 flashbacks, and not in a good way. But once you kill everything in sight, the demon that escaped the slaughter years ago finally rears its head. The Mother Demon rises out of a pyramid-like structure and begins its assault. She can fire flame trails out at you that launch you skyward, and can shoot 4 homing fireballs at you, which do incredible damage. Let me just be real, I won't sugarcoat this. You're kind of fucked if you didn't get all the artifacts. So at first, I cheated. Wait, stick with me, I said at first. I gave myself all the artifacts via the console and just went to town. While it wasn't the easiest thing in the world, it was pretty damn easy. But that ending didn't feel very heroic or earned, so I tried to do it legitimately. It took me over 20 tries, but I eventually succeeded without dying in the process. Because that happened a few times where I won, but I died right at the end. It's fucking strange. It's weird that it was programmed to still work that way. The Mother Demon defeated, Hell's forces once again depleted, and Doom Guy decides to stay in Hell and make sure no more demons ever rise to threaten Earth ever again. This is a noble man. Anyone who says that Doom teaches you bad morals is talking out their ass. Just show them this footage and they'll understand. You know, even with that fatal flaw, Doom 64 is still beatable. Hell, somehow I did it legitimately without artifacts after enough tries. Plus, it's fun as hell. Even though I forced myself to play through all of it to get this footage, I had fun the whole time. And that's the end of episode 2 of Doom Month. Thanks so much for watching, it means a whole lot. You probably noticed, but the editing and cutaway gags for this entry was probably very lax, as I've had a lot to do personally that kept me falling behind, so some corners were cut in production. That said, I still love what this part 2 turned into, and I hope the next installments will be even better. Peace.